What's up, everybody? Extramillion here once again with Totally Sick Resident Evil Edition, and in this episode we'll be running through an area called the Underground, which is a series of caverns and mines that connect the Spencer estate to the Umbrella Secret Underground Laboratory. This area is pretty much solely populated by hunters, more specifically the Hunter Alpha type, which was the original one created by Umbrella. It's the most popular one. There are several other different types, but this is the one that appears in the most games. And actually, in the hallway that we ran through in the last episode, that's near the piano, there's a red hunter that can appear in that area, as well as one who pops out right here for a jump scare. Most hunters take a few seconds to sort of go through their screaming animation, so you can just sort of run by them all. This area is pretty much separated into a top level, which is this level that has all of these little rotating hallways and Indiana Jones boulders. And then there's a elevator which goes down to a bottom level. That thing on the wall right there was the flamethrower. It's an optional weapon in this area that you can use on some of the enemies and even the pseudo-boss that's in this area. In this next room is he's not really a boss. This is Black Tiger. He's a very large web spinner. He's basically just more aggressive than the regular web spinners, and he has all the same moves. He can spit at you, and he can charge at you. All you really have to do is leave the room by getting rid of the webbing on this door. You can either use the flamethrower, or you can just cut it with the knife. If you do choose to fight him, and you kill him, once his body goes down, a bunch of tiny spiders will burst out and then start to attack you. You have to use the crank on this little piece of the hallway 3 times, and then the boulder will start to roll towards you, and then you just have to dodge out of the way. So we'll go in this room and do another statue pushing puzzle, which I know is, of course, everyone's favorite. All you really have to do is turn the statue so that it's facing the opposite direction, and then push it into the slot in the wall. So, since there's not much going on here, I may as well tell another amusing anecdote. This one is a bit more of a personal one. When I was a little kid, first playing the director's cut, which I still own, I always thought that there might be some sort of secret area, because in the game you have all of the mansion keys, and there are 3 or 4 of them, I believe. There's helmet, armor, the sword one, and then there's another one. And I always thought that the game might be trying to trick me when it says, you know, this item has been used for the last time, do you want to discard? I always thought that there might be some sort of secret door that required you to hold on to all the keys that you obtained throughout the game to open. I'm not sure what would have been in there, but that would have been fairly interesting. Now, there is a secret area in the first Resident Evil that you can only access with the closet key, which you can get by beating the game in under a certain amount of time. Of course, the only thing that's in there is optional costumes for the characters. This remake version has a few other secrets, like you can obtain the gun that Wesker uses, his custom Beretta, called the Samurai Edge, and then in addition to the rocket launcher and all of the other special weapons that you can get. So now that we're done with that, we can make our way past the large elevator that we saw earlier. But first we'll get sideswiped by Black Tiger. Once we use this thing to power on the elevator, we'll go down to the lower area, which is actually the only enemy that's down there is Lisa Trevor. So basically you just have to do your best to avoid her while you're doing all of your objectives down there. The main objectives for this lower area is to gain access to a door that can only be opened by placing something in the little holder switches that are outside of the door. What you put in there is a broken flamethrower. The reason we can't use the flamethrower from upstairs is because once you take it off of its little holding pedestal, the door's locked, so you kind of have to either use it or put it back in its place. Now, Lisa, you saw that she appears in this area. She always appears in the area that you go to first, so that's why I actually run to the left when I first enter to make her appear that way, because I really need to go to the right, so obviously I don't want her to appear to the right. So in the first section we had statue pushing, and we follow that up with box pushing. We'll send this box on a little journey, and then we'll catch up with it later. So we'll go down here and do some more box pushing, and that'll give us access to the broken flamethrower. In case anyone was wondering, this is actually my least favorite area just because it's pretty boring and there's not really a whole lot to do besides run around through the same back areas and backtrack a bunch of times, and it's just the whole place just looks completely identical, so it's easy to get turned around. But anyway, we'll push the box into this compactor and then crush it. I'm going to go ahead and assume that that flamethrower wasn't previously broken when it was in that box. It was the act of crushing the box to get at it that we broke it. So we'll come through this area one last time. Get sucker punched by Lisa. So this really freaky underground area is obviously where Lisa hangs out. Now in this very next section you may notice that some of my inventory items changed, which is because the emulator and Fraps both started to crash at this area, so I had to redo it. You'll notice that I now have the crank in my inventory again, when I previously put it in the box. In the second playthrough I did not get hit by Black Tiger, but ended up using my other herb anyway, because I got hit by Lisa an additional time. So I don't have... all of my items are still the same. Also, as you can see, that little jeweled box that we opened up contained a secondary piece for the emblem that we have, which now causes it to match the other emblem that we've seen. And climbing up that ladder puts us in a familiar place. We're back outside in Lisa's shed. Which means we need to run all the way back to the mansion for the last time. Now, besides that zombie that we just ran past, there are a few other zombies that have now spawned in the cemetery area, but you can basically just ignore them. If you were going for all of the weapons in the game, this is the area where you would find the Colt Python, which is the Magnum. It's pretty much the strongest weapon in the game besides the rocket launcher. So we'll take this emblem back because the door that we need it for requires 2 of them. And we'll make our way back to the main hall. Now, the reason we're going back there is so that we can go to an area we've never been to yet, under the stairs, which is where Lisa's mother is buried. And this boss fight is actually fairly unique, depending on what character you're playing as. If you're Jill, then Barry will show up to help you, and during the fight, you can either choose to give Barry his gun, or not to give it back to him, because at this point Jill finds out that Barry is actually working with Wesker, because Wesker has his family held hostage. So you can either choose to trust him and give him his gun back, or you can choose to keep it, and Barry will die. Barry's gun is obviously very powerful. If you're Chris, the person helping you out is Wesker, and obviously Wesker canonically cannot die in this game. He's basically the main villain all the way up until Resident Evil 5, where he dies for good, spoiler alert. But he can actually die in this fight, if you choose to let Lisa wail on him, even though he shows up later. The only thing that you have to do is you have to push these little giant stones so that they pull the chains. Wesker actually ends up saving me from Lisa. She starts to swipe at me and then he shoots her right in the back, which causes her to stumble. Thanks, Wesker, you're a real pal. So that's all you have to really do for that quote-unquote fight. And that's the last we'll see of Lisa. So now we'll make our way to the final area, and we'll be able to use the books that we've been carrying through the entire game. This red and this blue book. If you open them up and then look inside of them, they contain 2 emblems that you have to put in this fountain. And then once you use them on the fountain will open up and reveal a elevator. So we'll take this lift down to the final area, the Umbrella Laboratory, which is actually a cool area for as short as it is. This is also where you would switch discs if you were playing the GameCube version. But then we'll head down this ladder and we'll save, and then that's all for this episode, and I will see you guys next time.